All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's journal recap. It is the 19th. I'm sorry, but I didn't take a trade yesterday, so there's not really a recap. Honestly, it was kind of like no trades. Like there was just no opportunity for me. I think price just like shot up straight. So yeah. But let's kind of get started on today's analysis. So I was bearish coming into the markets. The reason for that is that if you look at the price action, you can see that we're disrespecting bullish PD arrays, right? And then respecting bearish ones. So if you look at like where London was, right? If you look at where London was, London ended up sweeping into this hourly gap. I'll just mark it out here, right? London high was here. We ended up sweeping into this hourly gap, and then we displaced heavily bearish, right, from there. And then we ended up opening up like a hourly, like 2 hourly gaps above here. So what I wanted to see was somewhat of like a retrace up into the gap and then a continuation like lower, right? That's kind of what I wanted to see towards this like sell side 4 hour. A bunch of like just drawn liquidity, low resistance was right here too. All right, we had a bunch of like low resistance liquidity right here. So really good target to draw into. Alternatively, what I also could see us doing was sweeping into this 4 hour and then just continuing higher from there towards like the gap. So basically coming into the day, and I'll just kind of start, but market opens, and then we can see that, this might be better. We can see that we end up displacing into sell side liquidity. And then we created a like an SMT off of this level with the 4 hour, right? So you can see here that like we we basically shot through the sell side. So that would be right here. So yeah, same time, ES took it out, and we also swept into a 15-minute, while NASDAQ did not. That created an SMT. That's kind of telling me that like, hey, like since we had strong displacement and then we continued higher from there, right? We didn't like displace through it. We kind of just wicked through it and then started climbing. I started looking for longs, but I wasn't really sure yet. And we could have had an opportunity on like a 2 minute right here, but it also kind of took too long from what I saw, right? Eventually, there we go. So now we took it. So no, right? 2 minute was the highest, and then yeah, 1 minute was basically nothing. So there wasn't really any opportunity to trade at this point, nor would I most likely take it, just because I would like for SMTs and stuff, I'd still like for a price to like trade lower into some kind of like PD array, but on NASDAQ we didn't. And what I mean by this is that like if ES manages to sweep out like a sell side, it has to be some kind of like PD array below that ES also has to sweep out and NASDAQ too. So it kind of counts as like a manipulation. So like if this was like a 15-minute, if there was some kind of like 15-minute or 5 minute in this range and NASDAQ sweeps into it but is unable to sweep this out, I would have been more comfortable taking a long off of like this price action, right? If there was one, but we didn't have that, so I kind of just like waited. And then from there, I noticed that like we were kind of in the middle of like forming a 4 hour gap right here. So I kind of just marked it out prior to. And so I waited until like close to close to 10, but not really. So we ended up forming this 5 minute, right? And then I see this opportunity right here. We have a 5 minute tap. And right as 10 opens, we end up forming this 4 hour gap above. And we do sweep into the hourly gap prior to, but since the 4 hour was perfectly forming above us still, I knew that it would be a very good draw on liquidity, especially with 10 a.m. hitting. We don't really have any high impact news. So by this point at like 10, like here, the 4 hour has formed, and I was just waiting for a 1 minute close above, right? And then what does price do? We end up forming a 1 minute inversion. And I just basically pressed enter. And then I targeted the this is a 4-hour gap, but I basically targeted the middle, the dead center, and I used this buy side liquidity as my break even point. And then from there, I just watched price play out, and it did. It worked. Finally, I won one. Jeez. But this is a trade that I would use, or that I ended up winning. And once again, it was on paper. And yeah, but yeah, good trade, good day. And then from there, price just kind of chopped down and then went and basically reacted off of this 4-hour gap. We probably could have found a good opportunity here too if price went down, but it looks kind of like we chopped throughout the whole day. Yeah, can't really find anything. Yeah, it's just accumulation. So this 5-minute sweep towards this gap was pretty good. C of the wick, and then yeah, okay, that's it. ES similar behavior too. I think yeah. Or one thing is that like ES didn't form like a 4-hour gap here, but it also formed like this hourly gap. And yeah, I just honestly I don't worry about those until like later. And especially like there was this hourly gap plus like a 15 up here, but I didn't want to trade up to it because one, the 4-hour is the higher time frame, and I knew that we'd react to it because it was 10 a.m. open, 10 a.m. sweep into that, so it was more of like a power of three as well. So definitely something to think about towards the future is like what trades do I want to take and what trades should I fade just to improve my win rate. But yeah, disclaimer, this is still paper trading. I'm not actually trading the markets yet. But also one more thing is that like I am doing this on like replay, but I ended up like not forward testing today because I was at like boxing class. So instead of like stressing out about like, oh, I need a forward test, I decided to do it this way and then just go to my boxing class and get like my health in check before and everything. Because I think like being physically active as a trader is also very important. Just because like you need to have your mental in check, and definitely I feel a lot better with like that as like my therapy basically. But overall, like good trade. I was able to find it, and this was a trade I'd probably take 10 out of 10 times just because we didn't really we the only thing that was kind of concerning was that we did sweep into like this hourly gap, but in the process we also formed a 4-hour gap above that I also think was a very good draw on liquidity. 5-minute opens up, we sweep into this gap right here by 10, and then we just displace higher from there, right? Like, right, what happens at 10, right? 10, we sweep into the 5-minute, and then 10 o'clock, open low, high close, right? So, yeah, just kind of process thinking and analysis. But yeah, all right, cool. Have a good